would be practically begging someone, anyone, to take it off their hands. Meanwhile, Mike, a contractor from Ohio, thought he was playing it smart. He paid $64,000 for a Ford F-250 last year, convinced that trucks would only get more expensive. Last week, he drove past his dealership and saw the exact same truck, same trim, same year, listed for $51,000. That's $13,000 gone, vanished. And the story is repeating itself everywhere, from suburban driveways to dealer lots stacked with unsold inventory. But the pain isn't just in the sticker price. The average used car payment in America has ballooned to $733 a month. Stop and think about that. $733 every month for a used car. That's not a car payment. In some parts of the country, that's a mortgage. For families already squeezed by rising rents, groceries, and gas, it's a monthly bill that feels impossible to escape. And the kicker, the cars people stretch to buy are now worth thousands less than what they owe. Negative equity is everywhere. Millions of Americans underwater on loans, stuck with vehicles they can't afford to sell or trade. This wasn't a fluke or a natural market cycle. The whole system was engineered to squeeze every last dollar from buyers. Dealers, lenders, and automakers all played their part, feeding the frenzy with easy credit, limited inventory, and relentless price hikes. While the average family got locked into sky-high payments, the big players made off with record profits. And now, as prices collapse and inventory floods the market, it's the everyday buyer left holding the bag. The impossible reality, for most Americans, buying a decent used car became a fantasy. The choice was simple. Take on a payment you can't afford or drive something you hope will last another year. And for those who waited, hoping for relief, the crash coming next will make the last 3 years look tame. The market that turned cars into gold is about to turn them into lead. The only question now is who's left standing when the music stops. 3 forces propped up the entire used car bubble, and every one of them was engineered by the biggest players in the business. First, the supply choke. In 2020, new car production in the U.S. cratered to 13.88 million units, the lowest since the Great Recession. Automakers blamed chip shortages, but the real story was a coordinated slowdown. With factories idled and supply lines cut, the number of new cars hitting dealer lots dropped by millions. Less supply meant dealers could jack up prices on whatever inventory they had, turning even the most basic sedans into bidding wars. Second, cheap credit. While the rest of the economy was on life support, the Federal Reserve slashed interest rates to near zero. Suddenly, anyone with a pulse could walk into a dealership and leave with a $40,000 loan at 2% interest. No questions asked. Lenders handed out 7-year loans like Halloween candy, and dealers pushed buyers into payments they couldn't possibly afford. The result? A feeding frenzy. Cars that should have lost value every year started going up instead, fueled by a tidal wave of easy money. Third, the fleet hoarding play. Rental car giants like Hertz and Enterprise, usually the biggest source of gently used cars for the public, slammed on the brakes. During the pandemic, these companies sold off nearly half their fleets to survive. But as travel returned, they faced a new problem. They couldn't buy new cars to restock thanks to the same production cuts that kept dealer lots empty. So instead of cycling their cars out at the usual pace, they held on to aging inventory and bought up used vehicles at auction, directly competing with consumers and driving prices even higher. The usual river of off-a-run cars dried up to a trickle. Every link in the chain, from the assembly line to the showroom floor, was controlled by the same handful of corporations and financial institutions. They squeezed supply, flooded the market with cheap loans, and starved the used car pipeline, all while reporting record profits. The average family, meanwhile, was left fighting over whatever scraps remained, forced into bidding wars and predatory loans just to keep up with the basics of daily life. The illusion couldn't last. With production finally ramping back up, interest rates climbing, and rental fleets dumping inventory at scale, the system that turned cars into gold is about to snap back the other way. The bubble wasn't an accident. It was built brick by the people who stood to gain the most. And now, as the walls come down, it's the everyday buyer left exposed. Most people don't realize that dealerships don't actually own the cars sitting on their lots. Every sedan, truck, or SUV is financed through what's called floor plan credit, a massive revolving loan that lets dealers stock their inventory without paying cash up front. It sounds like a smart system, but in 2024, it's turned into a financial chokehold that's crushing the backbone of American car retail. Here's how it works. Every vehicle on a dealer's lot racks up interest every single day it goes unsold. That's not a rounding error. It's a real daily cost, often between $22 and $45 per car. For a typical dealer carrying 200 vehicles, just the interest can run $6,000 a day. That's $180,000 a month before a single car leaves the lot, before a single commission is paid. And that's just the interest. Add insurance, utilities, and the cost of capital, and the number climbs even higher. Steve, who runs a mid-sized dealership in Wisconsin, keeps a spreadsheet that would make most business owners lose sleep. He's paying $30 per car per day in floor plan interest. If a car sits for 40 days, the new national average, it's already eaten $1,200 in interest alone. Multiply that by 200 vehicles, and the math gets ugly fast. When cars were flying off the lot in under 2 weeks, nobody worried. Now, with inventory sitting for months, floor plan costs pile up like snowdrifts in January. The real kicker, dealers can't just pass these costs on to buyers anymore, with used car prices falling and buyers waiting for better deals. Every extra day a car sits unsold shaves profit off the final sale. Steve's ledger shows vehicles that have sat for 90 days. By then, the floor plan interest has chewed through almost $3,000 per car. That's more than he'll make on half the vehicles he sells this month. He's not alone. 38% of dealers nationwide now say floor plan costs are their #1 threat. Some are slashing prices just to stop the financial bleeding, selling at a loss to avoid another week of interest. This isn't just a paperwork problem. When inventory sits, floor plan lenders get nervous, miss a payment, and they can seize cars right off the lot, auction them for pennies, and leave the dealer on the hook for the difference. That's already happening. Floor plan companies have repossessed thousands of vehicles from struggling dealers this year, often triggering a death spiral. Less inventory, less revenue, even higher costs per car. The daily cost of holding inventory has never been higher, and it's turning every dealer's lot into a ticking time bomb. The longer cars sit, the deeper the hole gets. For dealers like Steve Dunnos, like to move metal fast, but with buyers on the sidelines and prices dropping, desperation sales are becoming the new normal. The floor plan system that once fueled the American dream of car ownership is now threatening to wipe out the very people who built it. Steve's dealership in Wisconsin is bleeding cash. $120,000 a month, just in interest to keep 200 vehicles parked on his lot. That's before paying his staff, before the lights come on, before a single car even moves. Every morning he opens his spreadsheet and watches the numbers climb. $30 per car per day, just to keep the bank from pulling the plug. Multiply that by the 40 days, it now takes on average to sell a used car. And each vehicle racks up $1,200 in interest before anyone even talks about profit. Some have sat for 90 days or more, quietly draining thousands from the business. He's not alone. Across America, hundreds of dealers are facing the same math. The old rules don't work anymore. When cars sold in under 2 weeks, floor plan financing was just another cost of doing business. Now, with buyers waiting for prices to drop and inventory piling up, the interest keeps compounding. By the time a car finally sells, the profit has already evaporated. For many, it means selling at a loss just to stop the bleeding. It's a slow-motion collapse. The National Automobile Dealers Association estimates that 25% of used car dealers could shut their doors within the next year. That's not a blip. It's thousands of businesses, tens of thousands of jobs, and entire communities losing their local dealership. These aren't just numbers on a balance sheet. Every closure means mechanics out of work, families losing health insurance, and main streets losing their anchor tenant. The desperation is palpable. Some dealers are begging national chains like CarMax to buy up their inventory at wholesale, even if it means taking a hit of $2,000 or $3,000 per car. Others are slashing prices to the bone, hoping to move metal before the next floor plan bill comes due. Steve has started offering cash bonuses to anyone who can close a deal. Any deal, just to keep the lights on another month. This is how the flood starts. As more dealers go under, their lenders seize the unsold cars and dump them at auction, adding to the growing mountain of inventory. The cycle feeds on itself. More closures mean more cars hitting the market, which means lower prices, which means more dealers pushed to the brink. The backbone of the used car market, the independent dealer, is snapping under the weight of daily interest charges and evaporating demand. In towns across the Midwest, the South, the coasts, you can see the signs. Empty lots, shuttered showrooms,